AITA for letting my cheating husband's mistress walk into a trap instead of warning her. I never thought I would be that wife, the one who discovers her husband is cheating, the one who has to decide whether to fight for her marriage or walk away. But there I was, staring at undeniable evidence on my husband David's phone while he showered, oblivious that his world was about to implode. It started with a text notification. David had left his phone on the kitchen counter while he went to shower before dinner. We had been married for 8 years, and I had never once snooped through his phone. I trusted him completely. But something about the message preview made my stomach drop. "Can't wait to see you tomorrow, same place?" The sender was someone named Alex from work. I knew all of David's coworkers, and there was no Alex. My hands shook as I picked up the phone. There was no password. He had nothing to hide, or so I thought. What I found shattered my world. Hundreds of messages between David and Alex, whose real name was Alexis. Photos, plans for meetups at hotels, intimate conversations about their future together. The affair had been going on for 6 months. I sat at the kitchen table, numb, scrolling through message after message. Then I saw something that made my blood run cold. Alexis had asked about me. "What about your ex? Is she still causing problems?" David had replied, "She just cannot accept that we are over. It is pathetic, really." Ex? Pathetic? I was his wife. We lived together. We had joint bank accounts. We were trying for a baby. When David came downstairs, hair still damp from his shower, he found me sitting silently at the table, his phone in front of me, the color drained from his face. "I can explain," he started. "Explain what? How I am your pathetic ex who cannot move on? How you have been sleeping with this woman for 6 months while coming home to me? How you have been trying to have a baby with me while planning a future with her?" My voice eerily calm, surprising even myself. What followed was the usual script. He begged, he cried. He swore it was a mistake, that he loved me, that he would end it. I listened in silence, feeling nothing but a cold, growing anger. "Does she know about me?" I finally asked. He hesitated, then shook his head. "No, I told her we were separated." I nodded, stood up, and walked out of the room. I packed a small bag and went to stay with my sister. I needed space to think. Over the next few days, David bombarded me with calls and texts. He had ended things with Alexis, he claimed. He wanted to work on our marriage. He would do anything to make it right. I did not respond to any of it. I was still processing, still planning my next move. Then, 5 days after I left, I received a message request on Instagram from someone I did not know. Alexis. "Hi, I need to talk to you about David. I know you two were together before, and I have some questions. Can we meet?" She thought I was the ex. It was almost laughable, in a twisted way. She had no idea she was the other woman. No idea that I was his current wife. Not some clingy ex he could not shake. I showed the message to my sister, who immediately urged me to tell Alexis the truth. "She deserves to know," she said. "She is being deceived too." But something darker had taken root in me. Why should I warn her? Why should I make this easier for either of them? I replied to Alexis, agreeing to meet her at a coffee shop near our home the following evening. I had no intention of showing up, because I knew something she did not. David had been texting me that he wanted to come by the house to collect some things that evening, around the same time I was supposed to meet Alexis. He did not know I had been in the house earlier that day, collecting evidence of our marriage to present to a divorce attorney. I knew exactly what would happen. Alexis would go to the coffee shop, wait for me, then likely decide to surprise David at what she thought was just his place. She would find him there, all right, surrounded by photos of our wedding, our vacations, our life together. The night of the meeting, I sat in my sister's apartment, watching the clock. 6 o'clock came and went. At 6:30, my phone exploded with notifications. First from David. "How could you do this? Alexis just showed up at the house. She saw everything. She knows I am married. She is hysterical." Then from Alexis. You knew all along, and you set me up. How could you be so cruel? I had no idea he was married. I thought you were the ex who could not let go. I feel sick." My sister looked over my shoulder at the messages. "What did you do?" she asked, her face pale. "Nothing," I replied. "I did absolutely nothing, and that is the point." More messages poured in from David, each one angrier than the last. I had humiliated him. I had been vindictive. I should have told Alexis myself instead of letting her walk into that situation. She had been devastated, screaming at him in our home before running out in tears. My sister was not impressed either. "That poor woman," she said. "She did not know he was married. You could have warned her, spared her that public scene." "Why?" I asked. "Why should I have made it easier for either of them? David lied to both of us. He made his bed, and now they both have to lie in it." The fallout continued for days. David moved out temporarily, saying he needed space from the toxic environment I had created. Rich, coming from the man who had been leading a double life for half a year. Alexis sent me a long message, alternating between apologies for her unwitting role in the affair and accusations about my character. How I could be so calculating, so cold, to let her walk into that situation without warning. Some mutual friends took David's side, saying I had been unnecessarily cruel to Alexis. She was a victim too, they argued. I should have shown her some compassion, some sisterhood in the face of male deception. But others understood. They saw that I had been pushed to a breaking point, that I owed nothing to the woman who had been sleeping with my husband, whether she knew about me or not. As the weeks passed and divorce proceedings began, I had time to reflect on what I had done, or rather, what I had not done. I had not warned Alexis. I had let her discover the truth in the most painful way possible. I had stood by while she experienced the same shock and betrayal I had felt, possibly even worse due to the public nature of her discovery. David continues to insist I am heartless for letting it play out that way. He says if I had truly loved him, I would have handled it differently, more privately. He actually suggested I had engineered the whole situation out of spite to guarantee he would lose both of us. The truth is simpler and perhaps harder to accept. I did not warn Alexis because I wanted them both to face the consequences of their actions without my intervention. I wanted the truth to detonate between them like it had detonated in my chest when I read those messages. Was it petty? Maybe. Was it cruel? I am not so sure. I did not create the situation. I merely stepped aside and let it unfold naturally. The carnage that followed was of their own making. Still, sometimes when I cannot sleep at night, I wonder if I took things too far, if there was a more honorable path I could have taken, if my inaction was just another form of action with its own moral weight. So I have to ask, am I